everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now dubbed by Disney or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. I don't have that much time. I actually have to get headed into work, but I wanted to make sure I did this video before I did that. But I got maybe 40 minutes left, so I gotta get going. Today, I'm talking about The Force Unleashed 2. The game, the novel, the comic. And that's it for today. I have to say, with the addition of the novel, I think I like The Force Unleashed 2's plot more than I like The Force Unleashed 1. Without that, of course, then it goes to The Force Unleashed 1. But with all the added additions that they put in, it's not extravagant. It's not Revenge of the Sith level novelization, but it is a significant increase from what we got, because when you play The Force Unleashed 2, we follow only Starkiller throughout his entire journey. We don't see anybody else's perspective. Or there's a one time where we see Vader talking to Boba Fett, who is in the game. But this, the Force Unleashed series is one of those multimedia projects where, we had a novel, we had a comic, we had a video game, and so that was all much like the Shadows of the Empire, the whole Clone Wars era, so it was a big deal back in, what was this, 2010 now? The game, but more so in the novel, we have this sort of, if you've ever seen Blade Runner, if you haven't, Blade Runner is a movie, just a quick recap so you can kind of understand why I referenced it. It's a movie where this cop is hunting down androids, basically. But the movie kind of tries to hint things. Is the main character a robot or an android, or is he really human? It leaves those questions up for you to decide. It also helps depending on the version you're watching, but with that, in the game and the novel and the comic, we are told by Vader, kind of an unreliable narrator, but he does, sometimes evil tells the truth, so it's hard to tell. But Starkiller that we follow in this game is told, at the very least, that he is a clone. That he is a clone of Starkiller from the first game. Starkiller did not survive the events of the first game. He died, and you are simply a copy. Or is he? Or is he a clone, but somehow Starkiller's soul entered into the clone body? We don't really get an answer. Not clearly in the story, at least. And they make good points for both. One of the key things that they use the EU for in this is it hasn't happened yet, of course, because, Heir to the Empire won't take place for a while now, 5 years after Episode 6, and we haven't even gotten Episode 4 yet. But it talks about how all Jedi clones that we've tried to make have gone insane, much like Joro's Sabaoth will be, I guess already is, on Wayland when we go to the Thrawn trilogy. And so it makes good arguments for both. I like Coda is still alive, of course, and he's one of the coolest, I think, kind of Jedi outside of the movies and stuff and the expanded material. And he's like, is that what Vader told you? It's literally impossible. But at the same time, he's like, I don't know what you are, but I don't think it matters. And there's a lot of good moments like that. But basically, Starkiller, or Starkiller's clone, whatever, we're just going to call him Starkiller for the time being. His entire goal throughout the video game is to find Juno. He doesn't care about the rebellion, he doesn't care about anything else, he just wants to be with Juno. Which, again, I don't think that relationship is really that well established in the novel or the video game in the first game. I think it's addressed a little bit better here, but still. And so he goes to find her, and that's all you would see if you really play the game, really. And that Darth Vader hires Boba Fett to capture Juno to get to Starkiller. I want to talk about the things that the novelization does that actually make the Force Unleashed 2 novelization worth it, as compared to what I felt wasn't worth. With the Force Unleashed 1, the only reason you should be reading that novel, really, in my opinion, is if you don't like to play video games. Then, because you get the same story essentially in the novel. But if you like video games, it's kind of pointless, except for the retcons it makes to simply make it so that Starkiller is more reasonably powerful. That's the only thing that the original novel really adds. And then, a couple like inside Juno's head. But here in The Force Unleashed 2, oh, what's this? Every single time that, other people's lives don't revolve around Starkiller, things happen without him. So every time we're not following Starkiller's journey from the video game, we follow Juno and the stuff that she was doing with the Rebel Alliance. We get to see Mon Mothma. We get to see Garm Bel Ibis, who would be a big thing in the Thrawn trilogy. We get to see, Leia. We get to see all this stuff. We even get to see Akbar. We get to see Akbar interact with... I don't know if I should say that. Let's just say if you know what happened to Akbar before he became a part of the Rebel Alliance, if you know his story, and even if you don't, you'll get a kick out of the interaction that you see in this book. But yeah, all the added additions to this book were fantastic. In fact, I think I enjoyed the parts that didn't involve Starkiller more than I enjoyed the actual Starkiller bits. Like, that's how good I thought it was. Dare I say, may I get some heat from Quality Autism Noah on YouTube, or somebody else who likes the Force Heretic trilogy within the New Jedi Order stories. But this is the best novel of Star Wars that I think it's Sean Williams has done for Star Wars. He made Fatal Alliance, garbage book in the Old Republic. He made the Force Heretic trilogy for New Jedi Order, which was, it's okay. And then he made this, which is probably the best thing he's done. So thank you, Sean Williams. But yeah, absolutely enjoyed the novelization. I think it really works. Now, I want to mention a contradiction, a small contradiction. It's not really a big deal, but in the comic versus the novel, in the novel, Boba Fett, which makes me respect him more, actually. In the novel, he's like, Vader, I got you, Juno. I ain't sticking around for Starkiller. I know my limitations. I know what I cannot defeat. That's on you. That's your part of the deal. I did what you wanted. I'm bailing out. You have a good one. That's smart. He's smart. Because, I'm going to read a comic shortly where he fights Vader, which is kind of silly to me. But, Boba Fett is amazing. He's super, talented and all that, but he's not stupid, right? Like, he can fight, certain, force wielders, depending on who they are. But usually, he doesn't want to go up against somebody like Vader. Why risk that? Why do that when you can have further business with that person, and or someone like Vader could probably crush you if they, really, really needed to. And it's like, why have that extra risk on you? But in the comic, he's like, I am Boba Fett. I can handle anything thrown at me. Starkiller's nothing to me. Like, I don't know, felt very Karen Travisy, if you don't mind me making a reference to her. I also didn't particularly care for the art in the comic book either. He's having a fling with this girl who, at first I thought was a Mandalorian, but she just wears like old clone armor that she painted for some reason. She's another bounty hunter. And by having sex with him or whatever, she got like his DNA to give to this guy on Kamino to try to clone a bunch of Boba Fett's, even though Boba Fett's already a clone of Jango Fett. So why not just keep doing Jango Fett clones? But they were trying to make Boba Fett clones for some reason that's not really explained. And then Boba Fett kills all of them because he's like, I am the only Boba Fett. That's another thing. The comic book, the one positive I can give to the comic book is it's not a rehash of the novel or the video game. It's following events that we did not see from either the novel or the comic, really, or the video game. Anyway, where we follow Boba Fett's story. At the end, I'm not like Matt Wilkins, where I'm kind of nitpicky on this stuff, but like he's like, "Oh, they're kissing. I'm not gonna kill you today, Starkiller, but one day I shall find you and end you." I don't know. At the very least, in the novelization, I feel like Juno maybe earned a bit of Boba's respect, and because they were embracing, he didn't want the collateral damage of hurting her because she wasn't the target, and he had some sort of respect for her. That's the only way I can kind of try to salvage that. The novelization kind of makes it seem like he bailed whenever Darth Vader and Starkiller had their fight, and I really feel it was unnecessary to even have him be watching the fight, because he already did his job. His job wasn't to kill Starkiller. His job was to simply lure Starkiller there for Vader. So he should have bolted, like they kind of implied in the novelization. So, like I said, minor things, not truly contradictory, but annoying. And I gotta be honest, for different reasons than Matt, I didn't enjoy the comic. You can read the comic; it is expanded upon story apart from the game and novel. I just don't think it's that good. I think you're better off, either playing the video game or reading the novelization. I think the comic is kind of redundant. That, and there's like this one fight scene too where he fights the same thing that Starkiller had fought earlier, and it's like, okay, I guess it helps with Starkiller's power level that he didn't kill this thing. He just simply seriously injured it, and Boba Fett finished it off. It was already weakened, I guess, but it just felt unnecessary. Just like, oh, this thing's in the video game, so we're gonna put it in the comic, But yeah, not the biggest fan of the comic. That being said, I think the novelization is absolutely fantastic. And even if you play the video game, I do think the novelization is worth your time, if only for the sections that aren't in the video game, because it's expanded material upon the video game. Now, here's the thing. The big thing, and then I really got to get going. I got to get going to work. Disney bought the rights. Why does that matter? Because we will most likely never get a Force Unleashed 3. Even if it's just a novelization, like just a novel to finish off the story, we will probably never get it. Without somebody like Hand of Thrawn 45 making a fan fiction about it. We will probably never see a conclusion to the story, which sucks because it doesn't end. The story ends, they've captured Vader. Obviously, Vader's going to get out. He's in episode 4, right? But the rebels have captured Vader. They're going to take him to Dantooine. They're going to hold him as hostage for the Emperor. What happens? We don't know. We just know that Vader is fine by episode 4. Personally, there's a couple things. Starkiller, being as powerful he is, I don't think he makes it out. I think he finally dies completely and forever. Same thing with Coda. Juno, I think, makes it out, along with the droid. But yeah, so as far as we know, with the plans for the Force Unleashed 3, it was gonna be like semi-open world or something, and it was gonna be on the hostile planet where Vader and Starkiller actually had to work together to get out of the situation, or something like that. So for taking that into account, I can see that happening, but at some point, something happens. Starkiller, Coda get together, they try to fight off Vader, they try to end this threat, and they lose their lives. Now, if you're a TCW fan, I also had a thing of, what if, for the Legends continuity, Ahsoka is alive? Because she left the Order. Season 7 doesn't count for the Legends timeline because Season 7 is entirely canon material. You can like that season, that's fine. If you like the whole duel with Darth Maul and Ahsoka, that's all great. But that is strictly Disney canon because it happened after the buyout. It doesn't matter if you're like, well, it's a part of the same show. It doesn't matter because they didn't have to adhere to anything that the EU, not that Filoni did anyway, but you don't have to adhere to anything because it's a part of the Disney continuity. They took none of Legends into account when making that final season. But I mean, if you want to do I know some people like to mix and match things. Do what you please, but factually speaking, it is not a part of the Legends continuity. So I'm not including it in this hypothesis here, okay? But what I thought would be interesting, because we have Vader's apprentice rebelling against his master. What if the planet that Vader and Starkiller get stranded on, once they've kind of made it out, or they get separated, and Coda would eventually meet back up with them, Starkiller meets Ahsoka. Okay, I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not a storyteller, so I wouldn't know how to write it. Just the idea. It might be a stupid idea. I'm just throwing it out there. And they hang out for a bit. They do a couple missions and whatnot. And Starkiller convinces her. I know, as a different name, she finds out, she can tell. We have the same master. I followed him when he was in the light. You followed him while in the dark. But he is a threat, and he must be eliminated. And so you have this epic finale, where you have Starkiller, you have Coda, and you have Ahsoka trying to destroy Vader. Vader takes a beating, of course. These are three powerful Jedi, but in the end, he remains victorious. He doesn't really feel anything for Starkiller, so he easily well, not easily, but, Coda goes down first, sadly. Then Starkiller, yes, the main character of the video game, gets killed off second. And we end with Vader being slightly, and only slightly, hesitant to destroy Ahsoka. Okay? However, the dark side has him, and he plunges the blade into her chest. She dies, thinking that there's no hope for her brother, who she viewed as an older brother. And then, that is like Vader's final thing, because he never thought he'd see her again. And so here she is, the last light, and he distinguishes it himself fully. Any thought that there's any possibility of Vader being any different, gone now, right? Hopeless, irredeemable, until he meets his son. It would change everything. I think that could kind of work. I don't know. Maybe it's too fanfiction-y. Maybe it's too cheesy. Maybe TCW people who hate TCW will be like, no, that's stupid. That's just an idea that I had. I really don't know how it ends. And the sad thing is, we'll never know. But I do think that Juno makes it out, carrying on the torch, continuing on in the rebellion. Maybe she dies during it. Maybe she lives to see the New Republic. Maybe she gets a new family. Maybe they suffer during the New Jedi Order with the Yusong Vong. We will never know. Because Disney bought the rights. So all we can do is hope and pray that one day Lucasfilm and Disney would... We're not asking, us EU fans, at least most of us, we're not asking for shows or movies. Any of that. Disney can have it. That's okay. People can enjoy it. That's also okay. Kenobi at the time of filming this is coming out. I'm not going to watch it. It's not for me. Those who enjoy it, praise the Lord. I'm glad you have something to enjoy. But what EU fans want is to continue the stories that you left unthreaded, unfinished, uncompleted. Whether that be post-Crucible, which is 40 years after the Battle of Yavin, have a couple novels and comics leading up to the Legacy comics, which are the furthest down the timeline, just to smooth that out, and then have a conclusion, and then other loose threads like this. I don't need another video game. I don't need a movie. I don't need a TV show. I don't need a YouTube animated skit. All I want is one novel that concludes the story so that EU fans can have closure to what happened. Because as of now, it's just a big thread missing from our history books of Star Wars, of the, mythos or whatever. It's something we're missing, and it's very apparent because going to the next story, Vader will be fine. He'll be fighting Boba Fett for some reason. But what happened to Starkiller? What happened to these people I fell in love with? I have no idea of knowing because Disney won't let us get more material. And that's what I fight for. Not to fight with Disney fans or any of that. EU fans simply want their story to continue. Can you blame them? But that's it, guys. I really, 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 really got to get going. So I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day or night or whenever you're viewing this. And I will see you in the next video. And may the Force be with you.